On the Gulf of Honduras in the Caribbean Sea lies the little port of Livingstone, which was formerly the most important shipping center of Guatemala. What is left of its trade today is based chiefly on the exportation of bananas, India rubber, and mahogany. It was named after Livingstone, the Louisiana jurist whose code of laws had been adopted for Guatemala. Time has changed the active role that Livingstone once played in the annals of trade, and it is now a sleepy little settlement at the mouth of a quiet flowing stream known as the Rio Dulce, or Sweet River. A journey up the Rio Dulce delights the eye with a changing panorama of picturesque scenes which seem to have little or nothing in common with the hectic and fast-moving tempo of a modern world. For here the descendants of the ancient Mayas still live the simple life of their ancestors and seem content to remain apart from the ceaseless disturbances of what we call civilization. The Indians appropriately named their country Guatemala, which is a derivation from a Maya word meaning full of trees. And today, one of its most valuable forest resources is a great sap crop called chicle, or chicle. Aside from being the adhesive base and essential ingredient of chewing gum, it also has an important usage in commercial adhesives, surgical tapes, dental supplies, and various commercial chemistries. The harvester of the valuable fluid is called a chiclero, usually a jungle Indian who makes tree tendings and bark slittings a skilled profession. Once a tree is tapped for chicle, it cannot be tapped again for 7 years. After the sap has been collected, mixed with equal parts of water, and boiled to proper consistency, it is poured into molds where it forms solid blocks of chicle. The blocks are then sewed into canvas or burlap wrappers, and the chicle is ready for export. As the means of communication between Petén and the port are either by foot or by air, every pound of chicle, raw rubber, and any other commodity that enters or leaves this section is transported by plane. And so the airplane has forged the country ahead several centuries, casting aside the necessity for the natural development of transportation by construction of highway or railway. Many of the Indians in this part of the world have never seen a train or an automobile, yet they know airplanes and travel in them willingly and eagerly. Thus, the present mingles with the past, and the wilderness of Petén and the highlands that cover the ruins of numberless Mayan cities, the oldest civilization on the American continent, are rapidly becoming dotted with jungle airfields. Nevertheless, the changes wrought by the innovation of time are hardly noticeable in the more remote regions of Guatemala. It is market day at Patsite, and all the roads leading into the village are thronged with a motley procession of native Indians, trotting to market the same today as their ancestors did 1,000 years ago. This old farmer has already been to market with his load, and he and his horse are homeward bound. Incidentally, the owner of a horse in this region is regarded as a man of means, regardless of how he dresses. An interesting comparison which may justify the slow but ceaseless transitions of time and offer an ultimate promise of what is destined for future generations in this remote region is illustrated by these young ladies in modern dress. Although they may appear more civilized, they are not as picturesque as their fellow beings in the marketplace. Religion ranks highest among the Indians' activities, and they have retained the pagan beliefs and traditions of their forefathers, subconsciously blending them with the Christian doctrines that were brought to them through the Spanish padres over 400 years ago. But the Indians obviously have only accepted the glittering rituals of the Catholic faith, and the results of this mixture of ideas and interpretations are seen in the performances of their ceremonies. The church is the center of the marketplace, and Indians have gathered here from distant villages to trade their wares, much as they did in the days when the Spaniards first came to Guatemala. When we consider that all this takes place within a few hours' journey from ultra-modern Guatemala City, we begin to wonder if it is in the scheme of things for these people to align themselves with modern manners and customs. The burdens of womanhood, as witnessed here, are unbelievable. Yet these quiet, unassuming creatures tote their loads without complaint. As a matter of fact, the average native woman doesn't appear to be completely dressed unless she is carrying a child on her back or a load on her head. Although we may reason that this one might use her head to better advantage, we must admit that she is colorful and picturesque. In all of Guatemala, there is nothing more unique than the beautiful little island of Flores, surrounded in its outer reaches by vast tropical jungles, but made conveniently accessible by airplane. The inhabitants of this island depend chiefly upon the chicle and rubber industries for their livelihood. And although many of them are well-to-do financially, they prefer to live in primitive dwellings, crowded together on their tiny island in the flower-laden waters of Lake Petén. It is fitting that the reception committee that greets us should be a group of romantic young ladies who take great delight in guiding us by boat to their island homes. Here in the hour of twilight, when most of the villagers are at rest, we sail silently around their peaceful little island, thrilled with the privilege of photographing pictures like this, to be seen by millions of people around the world who might not see them otherwise. And it is with this thought that we now conclude our glimpses of Guatemala.